What's up, guys, and welcome back to FAMcast. This is episode 15. I'm Trevor, and I'm here with my host, Zach Wynn.
Hi.
And it's just us two today. Kind of a smaller podcast, but we still have some exciting stuff to talk about. We figured since it's been in the news for about the past week or so, depending on when you listen to this, Pewdiepie, unfortunately, is involved in another scandal. I guess you'd call it a scandal. But I don't know.
You could call it a scandal. I don't know.
I don't know what you call it. Basically, he dropped the N-bomb on a live stream, and we're gonna kind of just go over the impact of that, and not only for him but just YouTubers in general. So Zach, you've seen both his original video and the reaction after.
Yeah, I've watched both of those. I've watched a couple of other YouTubers talk about it too.
Yeah.
It blows my mind, and I think he says it perfectly in his apology video, in which he says, "I know better than this. I'm just an idiot." And I think that I don't think PewDiePie is racist. I genuinely don't. He just doesn't. And mind you, I don't know the guy. Let's start with that. And I'm not defending him. What he said was abominably bad. It was just terrible. Like, you just don't say that ever. Yeah. Especially when you're such a person that so many people are watching you. I mean, not that makes it less okay if no one watches you.
No.
But I'm just saying, like, I feel like when you have so many millions of viewers and such, you have a certain standing with people and you carry a certain weight that sometimes people think, oh, well, so-and-so did it, so that makes it okay for me or whatever. I mean, those people are lemmings, but whatever. Anyway.
Right. And he's got a like a younger following too.
Oh yeah, he's very popular among, like, I don't know, like teenagers, preteens, that general area, basically anywhere from like 12 to 18, I think.
Exactly. So I mean, he definitely has the platform. So you, like he said, you know, he has to be better than that. And I mean, he's an idiot for doing it. Like, that's.
Yeah.
But yeah. I guess my thing is, because he went in saying like, hey, I'm not going to make any excuses. I'm just an idiot. Like, I guess I appreciate that, like, not trying to make an excuse, but he still did try and, like, still feel like he still tried to make an excuse, like saying, oh, it was in the heat of the moment and I just thought of the worst word I could think of. He didn't take time to think, like, and like, I'll be honest, like, that word kind of rolled right off his tongue pretty quickly, like it was just natural for him.
Yeah.
I'm not going to assume that he's a racist. Like you said, I don't think that he's truly a racist person, that he wants to, that he thinks less of black people or anything like that. But that still doesn't mean you can, you know, use racial slurs like that, whether you feel that way or not. Like, it's just, they're just words that you don't use. Like, it's just offensive.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, right. Go ahead, sorry.
I know, I was just going to say, like, I feel like it always muddies the waters, because people always get this idea about social justice warriors and, like, oh, they're offended by everything, all these fragile snowflakes. But at some point, you have to understand, like, it's okay to be offended. Like, this, like, you should be offended by this.
And 100%.
Before we go any further, I just want to say, like, I feel like we should address that we are two white guys talking about this, so it's nothing that really.
Yeah.
And it's just like the whitewashing thing. Like, I don't want people to think that I'm speaking for someone. These are just, like, my opinions. I don't want, like, it's not like I have the best point of view out there. This is just how I view it. Obviously, I wasn't personally affected, at least by, you know, the racial comment. But I still think it's good that we use our platform to discuss this, and, you know, why it's. I know we shouldn't even have to be talking about why it's so wrong, but.
Well, I don't think it's not a matter of why it's wrong, or maybe to some people they don't understand why it's wrong, and to them they just don't fucking get the point. Excuse my language. That's not the real travesty here. Obviously, everyone knows it's wrong. That's a no-brainer. Well, I guess it is a travesty that certain people are like, well, he didn't. I get the idea that he was just like, he picked the worst word, because he says that. He says, I picked the worst word I could possibly think of. And then you can see it in this video. He immediately recognizes what he just did. He immediately recognizes. And he tries to play it off. and then says something along the lines of, and I'm not quoting it, this is just, I've seen it maybe twice. He says something along the lines of, I just meant he's an asshole, or something like that.
Yeah.
And
He's like, I'm sorry, but that guy's just an asshole.
Yeah, but there's, and I understand he wasn't calling him the racially charged version or whatever, but that doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And I'm a very big proponent, I guess you would say, of the idea that context is everything. But there are certain words that it doesn't matter the context in which you're using it.
Right.
They're just not right. Like it doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, if you were in court and you were saying, and then the defendant called so and so, and they dropped the N-word, that's one thing. Obviously, that's a no-brainer.
Sure.
Like that makes sense. Whereas in any form of way that is slanderous or aggressive or malicious, yeah, that's a very good word actually. Or really any way whatsoever, other than describing something historical, or I mean, it's a no-brainer. I don't know. I don't even know why I'm clarifying myself, because I feel like it's like you said. It should just be, we shouldn't have to describe this. We shouldn't have to discuss why it was bad.
Right. It shouldn't matter that it had an ER instead of an A at the end. It shouldn't matter, like you said. It doesn't
hard
matter.
R. Oh, he even used the hard
R.
R. It's like, what the fuck does it? Sorry, this kind of thing really frustrates me, because what does the hard R matter? And don't get me wrong, I had when we were younger, when I was younger, I've certainly used the word and I shouldn't have. Everyone's done that. The difference is, and I don't anymore, but the difference is the fact that I was a young and stupid, and I didn't have 40 million followers. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And, sorry, it sounds like I was just like justifying the use of it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we've all said stupid things, and Phil DeFranco, I think, even talked about this. Phil kind of talked about, like, Pewdie just strikes me as the kind of guy that says whatever comes off the top of his head, that he doesn't think he's a racist, but there's still things you can't say. And
right.
Where before there was kind of a witch hunt on Pewdiepie, where the media took clips and they took them out of context, but there were some that were like, I can't remember what the last one was about. Like, he was on Fiverr or something, and he paid someone to hold a sign that said "Death to all Jews" or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you remember exactly what that was? Because I feel like I'm getting that wrong.
No, I do, and I actually wanted to talk about that, so that's a perfect segue.
Okay.
So a couple months ago, like you were saying, I think it was just for like a skit. Like he hired someone on Fiverr to, like you said, hold up a sign that said like "Death to Jews" or something about Jews. That was,
yeah.
I mean, and again, I don't think he feels that way about Jewish people, and it was more quote unquote comedy. I don't agree with the fact that, like, I don't find that comedic. The part that I had issue with was the media blowing it out of proportion.
Well, because they took clips from his other videos where he's talking about how people might see him in something completely different. I will admit, I'm not a huge PewDiePie fan. I don't watch a lot of his videos. What the information I'm getting here is from Phil DeFranco and a couple other different YouTubers that I saw that talked about that. But it's my understanding is that they took a bunch of, the media took a bunch of his stuff and said, see, he's a racist. And they just took clips that proved their point. And if you look at the context, it's not that at all.
Right.
But that's different than that. This is different than that. Obviously, the skit thing with whatever it was, Death to All Jews, that is obviously very poor taste and kind of stupid. But then you've got, he blatantly says it. And it's like, okay, well, now what? Because you've obviously said something stupid again. And I believe in second chances, but it just seems like it, I don't know. I guess, like, I keep coming back to myself and thinking, well, what should happen now? Because obviously some people want to pull all of his support.
Right.
And I'm not against that. But I also kind of feel, I don't want to say I feel bad for the guy, because I do kind of feel bad for the guy because he said something stupid and he made a mistake. But there are repercussions for mistakes, especially one that carries as much weight as using that word, and especially in the times in which we live in, where, racism is a real thing we're talking about right now.
Sure.
With the Charlottesville stuff and all that. I'm sorry, I've jumped way ahead. Let's go back to what you were talking about the previous video. I apologize.
You're fine. I was going to say, just let me backtrack a little bit here to his previous video, because like I was saying, I I don't agree with his concept of comedy at that point, saying that it was just for a skit. Like there are some things that I just don't. Me personally, I don't find funny. So you can call me a social justice warrior, whatever you want to. I just don't think that some things should be joked about.
Right.
So with that being said, I did watch when that came out months ago. I watched H3's video because I'm a pretty big H3 supporter. He says a few things I don't agree with, but for the most part, I think he kind of comes from an unbiased place and tries to speak the truth. So I try and get a lot of internet news from him, and he just made a really big point about Wall Street Journal, about how they just kind of like took that story and ran with it.
Yeah.
And just how they dragged him through the mud, and like he's the top YouTuber. Like if something happens to him, it affects everyone on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of, and I don't think it's like the sole purpose of it, but the whole adpocalypse to where a lot of advertisers were pulling their ads from YouTube, and a lot of people were losing revenue, their way of life. I mean, that made a huge impact, and that's all because of him, all because of some stupid mistake that he did just for some laughs. Now, granted, I think the media is a big part of that, because they're the ones that it made it on the front page of all these news outlets, like, oh, PewDiePie's a racist, he's a Nazi supporter, and like we've already said multiple times, I don't think that he truly is, but you've got to respect your platform, man. Like you have to know the spotlight is on you 24/7.
Well, you can't bite the hand that feeds. Absolutely. Well,
Right.
and then it's my understanding too that the adpocalypse, that's what sparked it. But there was already a lot of push and pull to leave, for some of those advertisers to leave, because I guess at the time there was still stuff like beheadings and stuff. I don't know. Phil DeFranco talked about it a little bit, in his thing. I really like Phil DeFranco. I just like he has a really nice way of looking at it. He doesn't, lack of better terms, it just seems like he doesn't have his head up his ass all the time.
Right.
And like he sees both sides of the stories, and that's what I want to see. Like I don't always agree with the other side of the story. 99% of the time I don't agree with the other side of the story, but I want to know it. I want to know where people are coming from, just from an empathetic point of view. But yeah, like you have to know what your, it's like you just said it. You have to know what your platform is, and you have to respect that. Otherwise, you're not going to have money. No one's going to pay you. You're going to get, like he had his Disney sponsor pulled. Like I don't know how many millions that cost him.
For sure.
Like, but it
So
seems.
I don't know. You stated that you were sorry for him. I don't want to say like that's exactly what you said, but you were just saying like you have a little bit of empathy for the guy. But for me, it's like that should have been your wake up call.
Yeah.
Like
the
whole
100%.
The whole Wall Street Journal Nazi thing, like that should have been your wake up call to be like, hey, I need to get my act together.
Yeah.
All eyes are on me right now, especially right now. And he's kind of like leading YouTube kind of like down this dark path, I feel like. And it's not all, solely on him, but at the same time, now that they have that ammunition to be like, hey, see, we told you guys, like we told you PewDiePie's a racist, and that just reflects poorly not on the YouTube community, but I feel like especially the gaming community. Because he was playing a game at the time, and I feel like people already have this kind of toxic perception of online gaming, specifically. That, it's just a lot of racial slurs and a lot of name calling and just a toxic environment, and this just doesn't really help that at all. I'm
sorry, I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I don't think they're wrong. I feel like probably 90%, and I just pulled that number right out of my rear end, so that probably has no factual basis whatsoever. This is just my opinion. Like 90% of the gaming community online is toxic or negative, or they don't use racial slurs, certainly, but in some way or another, there's that anonymity that you get when you log into World of Warcraft or CS:GO or League of Legends or whatever game you're playing, and people don't know you. You can say whatever you want, however you want it, and yeah, you might get banned, but no, who cares? I'll just buy another game account or whatever. I know people that are like that. They're semi friends, more acquaintances, but like I know people that are like that, and I just feel like so much of the gaming community is so toxic, and it's just to some degree, accepted behavior. It seems like a lot of companies are starting to crack down pretty hard. Blizzard and Riot are both like, I mean, Riot's the big one. Like League of
Yeah.
Legends, everyone talks about how toxic that community is. Like when you start to play it, that's the number one thing you got to recognize is, hey, people are just gonna crap on you all day, so just mute them or whatever. And it's nice to see that companies are taking more steps towards banning these people, but it's never gonna go away. Like with our move into technology and that whole anonymous complex, or I don't even know what to call it, but the whole fact that you're anonymous and people don't know who you are. Because obviously, I would hope not. I certainly would hope not. These people don't go out into public and talk shit to people the way they do online, because
Right.
they get killed. Like it's just that simple. They would get killed, or at least hurt. I don't know. I feel like the gaming community, but on the flip side, I'm not saying all the gaming community is super negative, and I don't think it should be negative. I think you got a bunch of trolls out there, or people, you play competitive game specifically, where people are upset and they start to take their anger out on people, and you have a lot of like young people are comprise a lot of the gaming community, and young people are spontaneous and they say things that come to their mind immediately before they think, and so I think that's a lot of it too. It's just young stupid people thinking they're cool. But on the flip side, you have a lot of really great people in the gaming community. And I think, as per usual, the media concentrates on the bad stuff. And they miss things like SGDQ, where you have a bunch of speedrunners who take of their time. They pay for flight and they pay for room and board and everything. And they go to this event and speedrun and they raise money for different things. And they even had an impromptu one for Hurricane Harvey.
Right.
Was it Harvey? Which one's the first one? It was Harvey, right?
Harvey.
That's Texas. Yeah. For Hurricane Harvey, they just had a weekend. They raised like $200,000 or something like that, maybe more. I can't remember, and stuff like that. Like no one ever talks about that, but that's a problem with the media too. Which I'm a big not anti-media guy, but there's a problem with the media when CNN and MSNBC and Fox News are on the same rating system as The Big Bang Theory.
Right.
Like that
No,
just
absolutely.
doesn't make any sense. But yeah, the Wall Street Journal totally, and to some degree, I do wonder if the Wall Street Journal, if it's not a thing with like the Wall Street Journal, obviously very famous for being a popular newspaper, and newspapers obviously don't really have a place in the new world. Like they've tried to transition to e-readers and to the internet and
Yeah.
everything else, but I feel like YouTube and other platforms like that have really kind of killed things like the Wall Street Journal, and
Yeah.
so I wonder if there's some of that going on too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, they're a dying media, and like you said, and H3 even touched on this too. Like, even if you try and get their like digital platforms, it costs like way too much for something you can just like read for free
Yep.
on some website or watch for free on YouTube. Like
Yep.
it just doesn't make sense. So they're on the way out, but they still have a big they still have a big platform. I mean, people are still going to listen because of the name recognition.
Oh, 100%. Like it's a prestigious name. Like to have, to have anything pop up on the Wall Street Journal, it would definitely hurt you in some way or the other, or help you if it's the other way around. But
Yeah.
I just think it's so sad, man. And because you do a lot of YouTubers were talking about it, whether it's on Twitter or YouTube itself, and I mean PewDiePie, for all intents and purposes, is the face of YouTube. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's the most subscribed channel, not just in gaming, but in general, right?
Right. Correct. Or that's my understanding.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, it definitely hurts that platform, and it paints a picture of people, for people, rather, that don't know the platform, that don't know anything about YouTube. Like, my grandparents know who PewDiePie is.
Yeah.
Just let that sink in for a minute. And my grandparents are not technologically intelligent people. Far from it. They still call me and ask if I'm getting viruses on their computer somehow. So I lived with them for a while. Like anytime someone would go, "Were you playing? Did you install a new video game on here because it's running slow?" It's like that's not how computers work, Grandma. Anyway, but the point is that it definitely damages that. I mean, I think it does anyway. Maybe it won't. Maybe this is just going to be like, he's messed up before. Maybe this is just like, oh, that PewDiePie guy again. Because he has enough subscribers, and it's sad to say that this whole thing might get might get brushed under a rug, which is sad, because while I feel bad for the guy, what he said is irreprehensible. Is that it's bad. He shouldn't have said it. It's terrible that he said it, and I just feel like these big wig guys, which PewDiePie makes millions of dollars, so I'm going to include him in that group, get away with stuff all the time. Whereas, like, if you or I were to say it on one of our streams or on YouTube, like, there would be a witch hunt. Actually, there probably wouldn't be, because no one gives a rat's ass who we are. But I don't know. I think he's got so many supporters. I think it's just going to get swept under the rug. And I think, man, with the times we're living, with all this stuff going on, with all the Charleston stuff. Did you see the thing about the kid who was beaten up by other kids and, like, had a rope tied around his neck?
Yeah.
Did you see that? I only saw a little bit of it. I couldn't even look at it, man. Like, the picture was at the top of the rope marks on his neck,
right?
And I just couldn't handle it. Anyone who's like, oh, racism isn't real anymore, and that's just, dude, I've got family that talks like this, man. Like, oh, well, black people just want more than what they deserve. They're trying to get free stuff. And it's just like, dude, do you hear yourself? Like, the sentence you just spoke kind of proves my point. Like, the fact that your sentence was, black people are just trying to get free stuff. It's like, you see a whole race as being lazy and wanting more. It's like, come on, people, open your eyes. That's how I feel anyway. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Sure, and not to get, because I don't want to get too far off track here.
Sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I just want to reel it back in. So back to PewDiePie's video here, and kind of talking about his consequences, because I don't know if you saw, what is it, Santos something, the Firewatch game company.
Yeah, Dos Santos.
Yeah. I believe
like
so.
This. I don't know. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Campos Santos.
Campos Santos. Yes, I think that's it.
Basically, they filed a copyright strike against him, because I believe the head of the company actually tweeted out saying, like, I'm tired of this kid, making money off of the games that we create and acting the way that he does. That's not verbatim, but you get the gist. So he basically said that they were going to file a copyright strike and remove all of his playthroughs of their games.
Yeah.
And I just read today that it actually went through. So YouTube did approve their copyright strike. And I guess from what I read, PewDiePie did, like, he privatized the video just out of, like, respect after he saw the comments from the head of the company, but they still went forward with it anyways, which I'm kind of torn on.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
a game company creates a game, like it's theirs, and then they sell the rights to play it, and then there's this kind of, like, mutual symbiotic relationship between streamer and game company, to where, hey, I'll let you make content of this, that way you can make money, but at the same time it's going to be promoting our game, so we'll probably be bringing in more money too.
Right.
So it's a nice relationship. I think in most cases it's win-win, and I mean we make that kind of content. We find it fun.
Yeah.
So it's something that's not only profitable eventually, but also just enjoyable. So with them taking it down, I think the biggest question is if it's legal or not. So a lot of people are asking if it's legal that, this company can basically say, like, hey, we know that you're playing the game, but we don't like, what you're promoting or what you're saying on stream, and we don't want our game or our company associated with that, so we're not going to allow you to stream. And part of me says, like, that's okay. Like, I kind of sympathize with that.
Right.
Like, if there's, and I'm just going to go to extremes because I can't think of any specifics, but say, like, there's a member of, like, the alt-right, and he's like he states that he's like a Nazi supporter. Like, hey, I am a white supremacist. Here I am. I'm going to play some games today.
Right.
I hope nobody, like, clips that part and then, like, that, like, makes it on, and it's like me saying that. It'll be like on the Wall Street Journal tomorrow. Like, oh, this just in.
Hey, we're so small. No news is bad. No publicity is bad publicity. But go ahead.
I don't know about that. Anyways, but just say, for instance, that happens and someone's playing Overwatch, and they're like, yeah, I main Winston, and I'm an alt-right supporter, and now I'm gonna play some
Frickin'
games.
Winston, I knew it.
But like, why shouldn't Blizzard be able to take that down? Now, granted, I think it's a matter of being intolerant of the intolerant, if that makes any sense. Like, you can't, like, if I made a game, I wouldn't want people like that promoting my game. Those aren't the people I want as the face of my YouTube videos.
Yeah, no, I semi-agree with that. So, but you're torn. So where's the other side of it?
So the other side is that it's fair use. That, hey, you're basically giving us, like, we bought the game and now we have the right to create content from that. So it's not, I think the fair use part is you're not just uploading the game itself, but you're making actual content behind it.
Right.
And I can see that. Like, everyone does a let's play differently. Like, some people might have gameplay. They might do like or like commentary. They might do a walkthrough, like showing you how to do it. It might be funny commentary. It makes that content specific to that creator, that content creator.
Right.
So,
no, 100%.
Like Nintendo's notorious of it because they take, like, from what I remember, like anywhere from half to all the way to 100% of any videos that are uploaded of their games. And that's why a lot of people don't stream Nintendo games anymore or upload YouTube videos of Nintendo games.
Right.
Because it basically gets, if it's not demonetized, it's pretty much like you don't make anything on it whatsoever. So I don't agree with what Nintendo did to where it's like all video. Well, see, there I go again. I'm not too sure, because if you do it to one person, like, where do you draw the line?
Right.
Where's the line drawn?
It's a slippery slope, and I actually am more aligned with Nintendo on that. Whereas, like, if you're gonna say no one can do this, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. Like, as long as you're 100% across the board, like, this is how we're gonna approach things, and it's not anything special for anyone else. Not that I'm saying it's a special scenario. I mean, it is a special scenario for PewDiePie having them taken down because they don't do it to everyone. But I'm just saying, like, the consistency across the line, I'm okay with, if that's your rule from the get-go. But, like, the thing that gets me about the Dos Santos, gosh darn it, I looked it up.
Santos?
Campo Santo. Is it's free use, or it seems to fall under free use. I am nowhere near a legal, paralegal, whatever, anything. But it seems to fall under free use. And to some degree, I don't like the mindset of, oh, well, I don't like what you do, so I'm going to take this away. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't agree with our morals, then we're going to not let you use our stuff. I feel like it kind of falls under free speech a little bit. I mean, obviously, they're using someone else's thing. Or PewDiePie's using their game. But with the whole ruling with H3, with that whole free use ruling that they just had recently, which I can't remember what that I know the video. I've seen the video. I can't remember the guy's name. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Matt Haas.
Matt Haas. Thank you. I knew you would know. The Matt Haas thing, it seems to fall under that. And so, to me, I just don't like it.
So here's my counterpoint to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't explain myself very well, but go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say my counterpoint, because you mentioned free speech. So it shouldn't matter, my interpretation is it doesn't matter what the person's views are. Like, that's not for you to say. It's more so like, hey, you created the game, and now you're giving other people the right to make content out of that game.
Yeah.
So my counterpoint to that is, because I like to feel like I'm a pretty open-minded person. I like to, like you mentioned earlier, get ideas from everyone just to kind of see the other side of things. Mm-hmm. But I think there's some sides that just aren't worth tolerating.
Right.
Like the whole thing down in Charlottesville, to where, like, saying that the alt-right had any right to, like, have marches, these hate marches about white supremacy, like, that just blows my mind. Like, that shouldn't fall under free speech if it's detrimental, malicious, or hateful to someone else. I fully believe that at some point we have to be intolerant of other intolerant people.
Right.
We can't just tolerate free speech, no matter how hateful it is.
Yeah.
At some point, we have to draw the line to be like, hey, like it's not an opinion at that point. An opinion is like, oh well, I think apples are better than oranges. Okay, like that doesn't harm anyone. But when you're saying like, well, I think men are the superior gender over women, well, I kind of have a problem with that. So I think we do have to draw the line somewhere, and I think that's where it is when it actually impacts someone's religion, race, gender, anything that would define that person, other than just like regular opinions like, oh, I like Overwatch, I don't like Overwatch. Okay, like I can live with those debates. I just think it's not okay to have that, or I guess tolerate that. You can't just listen to everyone's opinion and be like, oh, okay, well, I respect that. No, like I don't respect that you are, looking down on someone else.
Oh, 100%. To a degree. Now, here's, and I always feel like I'm fucking taking the bad guy's side. I don't know why that is. I'm not, because I'm not. Like, it just, the Charlottesville blows me away on so many levels. It just, it makes me so angry, really. I mean, what really pisses me off, too, I mean, among other things, is, like, they were flying, like, half Nazi, half American flags. And it's like, you people are dumbasses. You realize that. Like, we fought a war over this, and it was us versus them, and we killed them, and they killed us, and, like, if you were to go 50, or not even 50, Jesus Christ, 19, so 70 some odd years in the past, if that, like, if you tried to fly something like that, you would get shot or put in an American internment camp. Like, I don't even know if they, oh yeah, they did, because they put a bunch of the Japanese in internment camps. Sorry, off the topic. The point being is, I agree with you that you have to be intolerant of the intolerant. And I think it's a weird thing, because I don't think these people should have a platform to stand on. I don't think these people should be able to spew any of their bullshit, However, I do believe that it's covered under free speech. Now, but where do you draw the line? Because, like I said, I don't think they should be able to talk. But at what point... I'm trying to think of how to put this in a way that makes sense. At what point... Who draws that line is what I'm trying to say. Who draws that line? Because, like, you or I draw that line, we're reasonable human beings. But what if someone is in power? This is just a hypothetical, really. This is just hypothetical. What if there's a guy that's in power who isn't a reasonable human being? And what if...
I would not want to live in that world, that's for sure.
No, that would be a dark, dangerous place. I couldn't handle it. Jesus Christ. But what if someone...
As we start sobbing into the microphones.
Yeah, exactly. What if that person's in power? What is offensive to them? At what point do they say, well, I don't like it when... to use your point, I don't like it when women work, or whatever, or when women make more than men, or when, I'm just using your example.
Yeah.
And so now women are second-class citizens again. Or Muslims, because I guarantee you, if there had been a Muslim march at Charlottesville or whatever, it would have been a whole different story. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I mean, the white supremacists would have come out for that too, but in opposing fashion. So I feel like, I don't know, man. It's a slippery slope. Like, I don't like the march at all. But at the same time, I feel like it's covered under law, and I think those laws are important to uphold, because for every one of those dog shit groups, and I'm sorry I'm cussing a bunch, but I just have no tolerance for this. You have those groups going out there and spewing their venom and their hate. I think for every one of those groups, you have, I don't know, like 50 other groups or 20 other groups or something that are going out there and marching against stuff that matters. And marching against things that we should be marching against. And I think if you start cutting things off for certain people, then other people are going to lose their ability to talk. You know what I mean? It's almost... So...
No, I do. I guess mine is, like you. So let's put those two groups side by side. We'll say like Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
They're marching because
Because Black Lives Matter.
Right. I mean, yeah, and it's not. Oh well, white lives matter too, or no, all lives matter. All of our life. No, that's not the point. Your life already matters, Barbara. Like, come on.
Barbara, fucking Barbara, man.
Like,
Barbara,
I don't know,
get
man.
a grip.
I think it's like people think when they hear Black Lives Matter that it's like, oh, Black Lives Matter more than everyone else. Like all the police stuff is just like it's so scary to see the shit that like with all these like body cams and stuff, like between the things that they actually say to people, the things that they do to people, the planning of the drugs. It blows my mind. Like I'm getting goosebumps right now. I worry. Like I worry for like my friends and the people that I care about that might have to actually deal with that someday. Like that.
Right.
The police are there to protect supposedly, and that like I don't know. It's just completely changed my opinion on law enforcement in general.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say it's one of those. Oh well, they're not all bad. Well, yeah, that it's just kind of like when people say not all men, like not all men are racist. Like, yeah, we know that. Like, don't get offended if you're not a part of the problem, but do something to help. Like,
Oh man,
like
this is gonna be a long podcast. This is gonna be a long podcast. No, you're fine.
Nope. I agree. I'm getting way too off topic.
No, that's
let's
fine.
reel it back in.
I think this is fine. I think it's okay to every once in a while. Because you know what? Just as much as we talk about geek culture and nerd culture, I think this is just as important as anything we do talk about. And I think it's okay that we have an opinion about it. Whether we're women or African American or anything, obviously it doesn't impact us as much, but it still impacts everyone, in my opinion.
It does.
Which maybe I'm wrong. I often am, I've found. At least that's what my wife tells me. So to break this down point by point, first of all, the Black Lives Matter thing, I totally agree with you. Like, I think when certain people go, well, all lives matter or whatever, no one's saying all lives don't matter. I think what happens is some of those people don't understand the movement, maybe, or they've been fed wrong things by the alt-right or by Fox News, which, whatever. Anyway, and so they don't understand the movement. The other people, I think their world just can't handle, like their lives just can't handle a world where they're not the center of it.
Yeah,
and
they're not the top dog.
They're not the top dog. They have to respect other people. It's like, I have a black friend. I'm not racist, kind of thing. But you know what I'm saying. They totally are. But I think I always thought Black Lives Matter would do better, or at least help their movement maybe a little bit better, if they said Black Lives Matter 2, TOO, on the end. But, I mean, the people that don't get it now, probably the 2 wouldn't fucking matter anyway. Like, they don't want to believe it, or they don't want to listen to it, or what have you.
That's exactly it. And I think kind of pulling back from one of our original points, the media feeds into this a lot because there's so
100%.
many... the Black Lives Matter movement is a positive one. It's not violent or hateful. It's just saying like, hey, we're here. We deserve to be treated as equals.
But
it's not.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it shouldn't be one of those like, oh, I don't see skin tone. Like you should see everyone's diversity and respect that. It shouldn't be like, I don't see race. That doesn't help anything. You should see race.
No,
you should
100%.
see that I'm white and he's black and we're both people and we have I don't know. It's just sad that it's come to marches however many years later and people are still trying to fight for this.
Well, I don't know. I have a couple opinions on why people fight for it and how fucking stupid some of them are. Man, I'm really sorry. I'm just really aggressive today for some reason.
No,
I
you're
was
fine.
gonna say though, because I wanted to move on to the cop thing because I don't want to stay on Black Lives Matter too long because it's just a no-brainer to me. But I think what happens is the media. Well, first of all, you mentioned the media. It's again like they're looking for the worst things that can happen, and so they throw it up there. because they're on the same rating system as Star Trek or Hawaii Five-0.
Sure.
Why am I picking a bunch of old TV shows? But they're on the same rating system, so they're looking for their ratings. Obviously, I'm a bit of a shoot. What is it called? Where you think the Earth is flat? I don't think the Earth is flat.
A flat earther?
No, I'm not a flat earther, but like you believe in conspiracy theories. I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist. Shoot. But I think what happens with the Black Lives Matter thing is there have been violent instances, and I don't know if it's actual people that are part of Black Lives Matter or people that are just spouting the name Black Lives Matter, or they were trying to do something but it came off wrong, or any number of those. But those are the ones the media constantly like looks towards.
Oh yeah,
it's just like
it's going to be
really,
one
guys. Yeah. They always look at the worst thing. Yeah, 100%.
And it's on both sides too. Like you see the, well, I don't know. I won't even say that it's on both sides. Like you see the, like talking about Charlottesville. Like you saw how the police like didn't get involved when things got violent with the white supremacist side.
Yeah.
But damn well if anyone on the Black Lives Matter side got even like half as violent, like the cops would have been in there with like riot gear. Riot shields, pepper spray, like it would have been a whole thing.
Maybe. I mean,
I fully
probably,
believe that. I mean, we've seen that.
I don't. Oh yeah, 100%. Especially like you've got the UC Berkeley picture of the cops spraying. Is it UC Berkeley? Is that what I'm thinking of? The cops spraying all those basically teenagers or college kids with the pepper spray can.
Yeah.
You know the picture I'm talking about, the fat guy, the fat cop. So, to move on though, I feel like cops. Man, I feel like cops get a bad rap, and don't get me wrong, there are some dudes that are really screwing up, and they give the rest of them, because I think the majority of cops are not bad people. I don't even think they're bad cops. I think in some scenarios they're in situations that they just can't handle. They haven't had the training or whatnot. Some of these cops are in like, Chicago, Detroit, heavy duty crime areas. And I think they make stupid decisions based off of, I think they become jaded and they kind of take the law into their hands, which is not right by any means. I'm not justifying that. Those guys are 100% wrong, and they're giving the rest of cops a bad name. And mind you, I'm a white guy. I live in Ohio. I've never really been I lived in Dayton for a while and I dealt with cops there. But I mean, for the most part, I've never had a bad situation with a cop. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So take this with a grain of salt. But I think for the most part, I think there's a lot of bad eggs. And I think they give the rest of the good guys a really bad name. And I think the media perpetrates it again. I think they talk about how terrible cops are and all this other stuff. And I think I don't know, man. I don't like, because obviously I'm not a firm believer in authority. I've never been a big authority guy, but god damn it, that's got to be a hard job. It's got to be a hard job, and they're only human, and they're going to screw up. Now that doesn't make it right when they do screw up, and it goes all the way back to Pewdiepie. Like there must be repercussions. That's what bothers me, is when there's no repercussions, especially when it's something fucking blatant, like where they have body cam footage of a dude planting a weapon or planting drugs, and then they still get off. And it's like you have Trump. Trump just pardoned that sheriff whose name I totally can't remember right now.
The one that kept the girl locked in the basement.
Yeah. Well, there was a number of different things going on there, but yeah. And it's just like, if your president does that, how do you expect the rest of your society to do that? And that's why people argue that the presidential position is not important, and I completely disagree. Like, I don't know. Like some people say that the presidential position is just like, it's just for show and all that other stuff, and like, yeah, he kind of does some stuff, but Congress makes all the laws and all this other stuff. But that position of show, so to speak, the president sets the tone for the 4 years that he's in office, right? 100%. And he's kind of like the guy that everyone looks to when crap happens. And I don't know, man. I don't want to look to Donald Trump. Like Donald Trump is a dumbass. Like, yeah, sure. What made him great in entertainment before was this totally pompous, kind of over the wall, kind of crazy attitude that he had about everything, and I don't know, man. Like I don't want that. I want someone dignified and who
Yeah.
can actually speak and chain a sentence together without having to end it with good. It was good. It was fantastic. Like dude, it just pisses me off. Sorry, I'm not
Someone
gonna
that's
talk about that.
someone that's gonna advocate for their entire nation and not just the
100%.
the
Although
white male.
100%. What? And I do wonder how much of a puppet. Dude, I could talk about this all night because I don't believe anything. I don't believe in anything that is told to me. But I wonder how much of a puppet he is. Like how much just like
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
pulling his strings behind it. Let's get off of that though, because that's when I get crazy and I start talking about the
Yeah, yeah.
Illuminati.
Let's try and bring it back full circle. So we
Yeah,
started this
100%.
with PewDiePie, and
Yeah,
I
let's
think
end it with PewDiePie.
I agree. So kind of going back to whether it's well going back to whether it's right or not that
Right.
this studio took down or put in that copyright strike. So this is kind of a big deal because from what I was reading, after 3 copyright strikes, his channel gets shut down. All of his videos are deleted permanently, and he is not allowed to create another account.
Interesting.
So he already has one.
Yeah.
And I believe after 30 days, it might be, there's like 3 different options. And I don't recall what they all are off the top of my head. I know one is taking like a counterfeit class. Like basically just like, here's what
to
you
have
do
the
to
mark
avoid this.
removed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then another one is basically filing a counter lawsuit or a counter complaint.
Right.
And then the other one is he actually has to, like, he would basically go to that company and be like, hey, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Basically, like, trying to get them to repeal it.
So basically, what I just heard was, in order to get the strike removed, you have to do any of the things that I would have had to do in junior high to someone that I insulted or hit or punched or whatever. I'd have to go to them and apologize or write them a letter or attend a class about or attend essentially detention.
Right.
And that's your repercussions. That
Well,
sounds. I don't know, man.
the only other one is the countersuit. Which
I forgot about
I feel
that
like
one.
he's probably going to do, just because like it is a gray area. We touched on both sides. And I feel like I still feel that companies, if someone doesn't reflect what their company or what their credo is,
Mm-hmm.
or their like what they represented at their company, they should have the right to take that down. But I think the muddy part is where you draw the line, which we already mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do? Do you go across the board and say no one can stream this, or do you have to say you can only stream this if you believe in these things, which is kind of weird, right?
No, it's tough. I mean, it's really hard, but I don't know what the middle ground is. I really don't.
I view gaming as art, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe this is totally off. I'm kind of pulling this out of my rear end, so this has not been well thought out, which is pretty much 99% of what I say. But I feel like once a game leaves a studio, that game is finished. Like, that game is out of their hands, and it is now yours to do with what you desire. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, I totally understand you don't want your name registered with a hate group. I don't know, man. I just don't... And I'm not a legal aficionado, but it sounds like a really gray area.
Well, I'm
You know
I'm
what
not
I
either
mean?
by any means. I for me, one thing that comes to mind, and I don't know if this is 100%, but I know with some games, even though you buy a copy of the game, you're basically like loaning it from the company. Like you're buying the rights to play it, but you still don't, like, you don't actually own that game. Does that
Is
make
it, like,
sense?
legally, you mean?
Right. I believe that's how it works. Like, say you buy PUBG,
Yeah.
and you don't own that game. You're basically, borrowing it from the company. You're buying the right to play it.
Interesting. I never thought of or looked at it like that. And that's the thing. Like, that's something...
It could have changed, or it could be wrong, or that's just what I've heard, at least on some games. I don't know if it counts for all of them, But I think that kind of, if that is the case, then I think Firewatch will have a pretty solid case. And, those takedown videos, if he does file a countersuit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think, in my opinion, and this is, just my opinion, I don't think Firewatch is doing it because it's hurting their company. Like, I honestly don't think much about Firewatch, and I've talked more about freaking Firewatch in the past 50 minutes than I've talked about in the rest of my life.
Oh, you know what I mean? Me too. I haven't played it personally.
Yeah. So. I hear it's a very good game.
Yeah.
Please give us a free copy. But my understanding, the way I feel about it, is as if Firewatch or Dos Santos, gosh darn it. Anyway, the company that makes Firewatch.
Yeah.
I feel like they're doing it more as a moral ground kind of thing. They're standing their moral ground and saying, hey, listen, we will not allow you to use our product to spew your hate-filled stuff. Now, but at the same time, I feel like if it's based on that, then they don't have a ground to stand on, because, first of all, he was playing PUBG in that video. In the Firewatch video, which I've never seen, I have no clue what the content is, but I've never heard anyone talk about how it was racist. So it doesn't seem like that's racist.
Okay,
however, it does.
I see what you're saying.
Right, but however, it is still done by a person who is being perceived as racist right now, or having used racist slurs and such. So I can still understand where they're. I mean, I still understand where they're standing, and I don't think they're wrong for doing it. I mean, you got to stand up for something, and I'm totally fine with that. I mean, here's the deal. I just talked about like 50 minutes ago how I thought, PewDiePie was this all getting swept under the rug, and that he's not gonna pay for it, and how I thought that was sad. And now here I am talking about how I don't know. I'm not saying I don't want this to go through. Something has to happen. Like, PewDiePie, quote unquote, needs to be punished, or there needs to be some kind of repercussion, because people need to understand you can't do this kind of stuff and get away with it.
Right.
Yeah, he made a mistake once. Everyone kind of gave him a bye. Everyone gave him crap about it and then gave him a bye. Like, he's still making videos. Everyone's still dealing with him.
Right.
Dealing with him as if he's a horrible human being. He made a couple mistakes. I don't think he's a horrible human being by any means. Far be it for me to make a judgment call like that. But he still needs, like, he did it again. Like, something needs to happen, because 9 times out of 10, people don't change unless something is forced upon them. There's some kind of sharp reaction in their lives. There's a tragedy in their lives. That's what causes people to change.
Yeah.
If this just gets swept, he's gonna just keep doing his old thing, and he 100% flipped it out there. He's like, boom. He's like, you boom, and dropped it. Like, it just flew off his tongue.
It was too casual, man.
It was too casual. So I mean, even when you're not necessarily a racist, you still can't use the word. And when someone uses that word that casually on a stream where they're already probably supposed to be kind of guarded on what they say, they don't say anything too explicit or anything, they use it in their free time. That if that camera wasn't on, he probably would have said it more than once, or he wouldn't have said the word and then immediately you could see his reaction. He knows what he said, and then go, "I'm an asshole," or "I'm just calling you an asshole. Sorry, guys." Like, he never would have said that. He never would have said that if that camera wasn't on streaming. Like, if he was just playing a game with his friend, he still would have said the word. He still would have said the N-word, but he wouldn't have apologized afterwards, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
I think I kind of circled around a couple things there, and I lost my way. But you get the point of dude, I rabbit trail so hard, it's not even funny. But the point being, I'm more interested to see not so much how this affects people's view on YouTube, but how this affects content on YouTube and how people create content, especially with the Firewatch takedown. Like, how does that look now? Like, if Blizzard disagrees with the video that we put up about Overwatch, or a political viewpoint of someone that someone else feels is hateful or whatever, are they gonna? I think it's interesting, and I think we're gonna see more. I'm not explaining this well. I think we're gonna see more legal boundaries explored, and more maybe not laws, but what's the word I'm trying to say? More. Well, heck, you're gonna have to cut this out of the podcast because I can't seem to think of the word I'm thinking of. we're just gonna see more restrictions. I think we're gonna see more restrictions and more delineations on what is allowed and what is not allowed. And I think delineations is the word.
And I just to clarify, I don't want it to become some sort of like 1984 situation where like everything's like restricted and you have to do things, you know, this way or not at all.
Nice literary reference, thank you.
I don't know. I just think we have to I guess to summarize, because we're almost at the hour mark, so I'll just kind of recap my thoughts here.
You're good.
I don't think PewDiePie is a bad person. I don't think that he's necessarily a racist person, but I think he did make a couple of months ago he made a bad decision, and now he didn't learn from his mistakes and he's made another. So one of those fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me situations. Like I backed you up, man. Like I tried to say it was the media.
Yep.
But now, like, we gave all the ammo in the world to people like Wall Street Journal to just rain hellfire down on YouTubers and gamers, and I'm not looking forward to the consequences. And like you said, I think it is going to open up some legal debates. One that, you know, as legally inept as we are, I think we at least covered a few ideas, but I still don't think there's a very solid middle ground yet.
No.
There's just no right answer that I can come up with, at least to where both parties are okay. He needs to be punished in some way, and maybe the copyright strike is that. Maybe more people withdraw support from him as far as his actual sponsors. I don't know, but something needs to be done to show that this isn't going to be tolerated. And as far as the Firewatch team's concerned, I'm interested to see where that goes.
Yeah.
Especially you did bring up the good point. I'm not going to talk about it a whole lot, but since it wasn't the video that he made the racist remarks on, maybe that is, I don't know, that kind of leads into an interesting point. Like, should it only be the videos that have the racial remarks, or should it be, well, this person is known to say racial slurs, so we don't want him playing our videos at all or our games at all.
Yeah, it just seems like the content needs to justify the takedown. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
No, it does. Like it.
That being said, I know something has to happen, and I think what Firewatch did was important, actually. Like, I think that for too long there's been this like wink and nod kind of thing. Like, yeah, you can play our games, but you know, you can stream our games, but we don't really talk about the legality of it or anything like that because it makes everyone money.
Because it's been a symbiotic relationship, like everybody wins.
Exactly. But now I think this opens up the conversation.
Which is good. Like, if anything that comes from this, I'm glad that it opened up that conversation between YouTubers and streamers. So we can find, because I personally don't think that, without going off to another topic, I don't think that people that spew that kind of hate speech should have a platform.
Right.
Like, and I know that goes against what you're saying about free speech earlier. I just don't agree with that, man. Like, you shouldn't be able to get a following like that spewing hatred towards other people. Like the gaming community, I know it's known to be toxic, but there's so much good, like so many, like we've talked about it before, so many friendships that we've made.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want it to turn into that. So with that being said, any final remarks from you, Zach?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. Because I feel like I played devil's advocate maybe a little too much here. In this particular podcast, I don't necessarily disagree with you on the idea that people shouldn't have racists should have a platform. I don't think that they should. I just worry that you start messing with certain things, that it tweaks things to a different degree than what you originally planned, and you may get your wish now, but it may come back to bite you in the ass later. But ultimately, no, I agree 100%. I guess I'm just trying to say I'm not a racist, and I think what PewDiePie did was wrong, and I'm not supporting in any way, shape, or form what he did or said. I think a lot of times these kind of things happen and people want a knee-jerk reaction, and just take care of things immediately. And I always feel like it's a better idea to step back and let's take a look at everything and the repercussions of everything, and take a deep breath and go, okay, what's the best way to handle this? That may not be the fastest, but it will be the right way to do it. And I feel like with the internet, just the mentality of the internet and stuff, that's not something that they usually do.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of that kind of wisdom, quote unquote, is lost on them. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents about it. Man, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here, or if anything does happen. Maybe nothing happens. Maybe a week from now, you know how news cycles work, man. A week from now, we won't be talking about this. Who knows? Who knows?
It's always, there's always something new, but maybe we'll revisit this in a month. Maybe it will, gain traction, and we'll actually see something really big come from this. Who knows?
Yep. I hope so, man. I hope so.
Like you said,
go ahead, sorry.
I know a lot of the times we do just talk about like the games we're excited for and what we're playing and how we play these games, what they mean. But it is important to talk about how that relates to real world situations as well, especially in the world that we live in at this point in time.
Well,
so
100%, man, 100%.
I'm glad we took the time to talk about stuff like this today. I don't think we expected to get that far off topic, but I think I think you and me specifically, out of everyone in the group, I think we're pretty guilty of doing that. But
I'm the worst, man. Am.
They're good conversations to have, and it does, it all circles back to gaming. Or even if it doesn't go back to gaming, there's still important topics for whether you're a gamer or not. So it's stuff that deserves to be talked about, especially if we have a platform, no matter how big or small. I'm glad we can use it to advocate for what we believe is right.
That is exactly correct. I totally agree. And the day and age we live in, like, gaming is a part of everyone's life, it seems like, anymore. Or not everyone's, but most people's. So I feel like, I don't know, on some level I feel like everything affects gaming to some degree. But this is like, obviously that's an asinine statement I just made, that everything affects gaming to some degree. Disregard that completely. But I do feel like this is kind of like right there front and center. It kind of has to be talked about on some level. And this is a nice breakaway from what we normally talk about. And not that I dislike what we normally talk about, but every once in a while I like to talk about serious shit.
Yeah, it's good to shake things up. So with that being said, I think we'll close it out here. We're right at that hour mark. So hopefully you guys enjoyed kind of a different podcast type. If you did enjoy it or you didn't, just let us know in the comments. Let us know your opinions on the whole PewDiePie situation. Oh, yeah. What you think should happen legally as far as the takedowns go. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Maybe you guys have some more advanced legal opinions than we do. We'd love to hear them.
That would be everyone, I'm pretty sure.
Right, pretty much. So once again, appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, like, follow, subscribe on all of our platforms. You can find us every Monday, 1 p.m. on YouTube, Google Play, and iTunes for our podcast, and then Tuesday and Thursday on YouTube for our other video game content. So definitely give us all the feedback you like. We love hearing from you. We will see you next time.